Hi, I'm Celine Latulipe, and today I'm going to talk to you about official proxies, how close others help older adults with banking. So close others are people in the community, such as family members, friends, community support workers, or neighbors who provide older adults with assistance with various activities of daily living. And we are interested in older adults and banking within the Canadian context. So there are 6.8 million older adults in Canada, just under 20% of the population. And 71% of Canadian older adults are active online. So them participating in online banking is not uncommon. We also know that 19% of Canadians serve as a proxy to do banking on behalf of someone else. And so this means that they are actually doing the banking for them. Now, what we don't know is what percentage of Canadian older adults have someone do their banking for them. And while we don't answer this question explicitly in this research, we're looking into issues surrounding that type of help. So what are the issues that can arise when older adults get help from one of their close others with banking tasks? First, we want to differentiate between financial fraud and financial abuse. Fraud is perpetrated by strangers. Financial abuse or exploitation is perpetrated by trusted, known individuals. And what we know from the research is that older adults tend to overestimate the risk of fraud from strangers, and they underestimate the risk of financial abuse or exploitation by people who are close to them. What we see is that sharing banking passwords, as an example, with their close others to get help with banking tasks means that the bank institutions have no way of knowing who performed what transactions, and that makes it harder for them to help detect and address abuse. Privacy invasions are another concern. So if an older adult asks a close other for help with paying bills or getting out cash, that shouldn't enable that close other to suddenly have a full picture of that older adult's entire financial situation. And there's also issues around loss of autonomy. Powers of attorney are a common mechanism that are used to help provide access, but they typically allow complete access and sometimes involve removing control of banking from the older adult. And that may be too much loss of autonomy when somebody just needs a little bit of help. So we did a survey of close others in Canada, not of older adults, but of the people who provide the assistance. And we asked about their demographics and what types of assistance they provide and what mechanisms. How do they go about providing that assistance and getting access to accounts? So we recruited through social media and the University of Manitoba's Centre on Aging newsletter. We asked for adults who help an older adult with banking tasks, and we managed to recruit 42 close others who completed the survey during summer 2020. So our participants had a variety of relationships. For many of them, the person they assisted with banking was a parent. For some of them, it was another relative or a friend or neighbor. And we asked our participants to tally on paper the independence level of the older adults they help, using Lawton's independent activities of daily living scale. So what we see in this graph is we've divided the older adults who get assistance between younger older adults between 65 and 79 and older adults who are 80 or older. And for the younger older adults, we see that very few of them have no or low independence. Most of them are moderate or highly independent. And then in the 80 plus age range, we see that there's more of those people who have no independence or low independence. But note the two bars on the far right. There are still many 80 plus older adults who get help with their banking tasks who are moderate or highly independent. And so that shows that it is not just people who have no independence who need help occasionally with their banking tasks. So what are the tasks and modalities people get help with? What this graph shows is the four most common tasks: paying bills, monitoring balances, transferring funds, and managing savings. And what we see over at the right, the four tall bars show those four tasks are predominantly carried out by our participants using online banking and doing it for the older adult. They do it on behalf of them. And that's in contrast to the second group over here on the left, where we have our participants assisting older adults with online banking. That would mean sitting with them and helping them to do it. So really, the predominant modality is our participants doing banking on behalf of older adults using online banking. So how do they get access? What we found is that older adults are sharing their online banking credentials with their close others at a high rate, 59% in our sample. And so Sometimes this goes hand in hand with a power of attorney mechanism. 66% of our participants had been designated as power of attorney for the older adult they helped. But it's unclear how many of those powers of attorney had actually been invoked at a financial institution. And not all of the people who shared passwords or who knew the older adult's passwords had power of attorney. Power of attorney does have some issues too. Here's a quote from one of our participants who said, "I have power of attorney for my mother. She still has the ability to do her own banking, but needs occasional assistance. The bank will not give me my own ATM card or online banking credentials. I'm only allowed to do that when she is declared incompetent, and then I take over and she gets no access at all." And so we see here that issue around loss of autonomy and the fact that this power of attorney is just too big of a tool for somebody who just needs occasional assistance. Joint accounts is another mechanism that can solve some of these problems. If an older adult and a close other have a joint account, they have separate credentials. That means that the bank can see who's logging in and who's performing which transactions, which is good. But it doesn't solve privacy issues. If I have a joint account with an older adult, then I can see every transaction that they make, and they may not want me to. And joint accounts just aren't always suitable. You wouldn't want a joint account with your neighbor if they're the ones who help you, or maybe somebody who's just a friend. And also, if you take on a joint account, you're taking on risk and liability for that account, which may not be appropriate. So what we see from this research is that the power of attorney mechanism, which is the most common mechanism called into play for assisting older adults with banking, is just too binary. It's either invoked or not invoked, and it doesn't actually acknowledge the spectrum of assistance needs that older adults may have. So some older adults may just need occasional help, some may need regular help, and then of course there are some older adults who lack decision-making capacity and need constant help. But our power of attorney mechanism doesn't acknowledge this spectrum. And technology could really play an important role in providing tools that acknowledge this and in providing ways that older adults can get help from their close others, and close others can be supported by these banking technologies in a way that preserves the safety and privacy of the older adults. Thanks very much for listening. I'd like to acknowledge members of the HCI Lab at the University of Manitoba and the Centre on Aging, and funding from NSERC.